Well, welcome back to the IRT Esports, everybody. Welcome back to round number 4 for the Abu Dhabi Grand Prix here in Yas Marina Circuit. So it's nice to be here again in the Middle East. It's usually the final race of the season, as we've had it since 2009 as well, from dusk till dawn. But anyways, here we are in the circuit then, and we're just waiting the drivers to come out of the circuit. As last time out, the Hungarian Grand Prix, we saw a great race from Matteo in P1, whereas his teammate had the opposite race where he crashed out at turn number 11, I think it was, as well, which caused safety car. Actually helped his teammate strategy too, for good measure, and ultimately got him the race win. Kart Racer finished in P2. It was a great race for him from P7. Kakowski, who's here in the Ferrari, is for CPI along with TJ Boss. So they're both here once again, and Kakowski has actually scored a decent result in P3 for CPI, maintaining their streak as well for podium runs from P15 to P3. So he made up some great lunges and great moves as well along the race. So let's see if he can get closer to that, because I'm not quite sure what happened to him during qualifying, but hopefully this time around in this 80-minute session he can get going once again. And today joined with me is Bompia.
Hello. Thanks for having me again, Jamie. Yeah, as you said, great race from the McLaren once again. Last race, they're comfortably leading the championship now. It's they're almost basically won it already, 26 points ahead of P2. It's going to be tough for every other team to make a dent in that streak that the McLarens have going on right now.
Yeah, McLaren, like you said, 26 points advantage, gaining more points as well after that Hungarian Grand Prix, and scored some great results as well back in, I think it was the Dutch Grand Prix, which I wasn't here for, as Jordi took cover, or just streamed it, I must say. But in Abu Dhabi, let's see what they could do tonight, as we've got some drivers then out on the circuit, which is the Alpine then. So let's see how he gets on with his lap time in there, representing RCR, of course. So Alpine last time out, I actually can't remember what happened during the race because my memory isn't that great, and plus I've got other leagues as well that I commentate on, so I'm not really going to comment because I actually can't remember. But as he rounds then the famous turn 14 where Nicholas Latifi crashed out all them years ago and spiced things up in the championship on the last lap. As we make our way around the final corner then, let's see what the Alpine driver can set as he crosses the line now. So approaching the first corner, obviously there's no DRS on this straight, which I've always been confused about, but he's taken out the 100-meter for us, so I think he might upset some drivers along the way. But I think there's another reference point. You break at the black box, I think at turn number 1 too, so let's see if the drivers use that. Going into this turn 4 then, 50 meters, bring the car in, use the throttle to rotate the car, straight line the car, DRS enabled then for this long back straight here. This is where you'll see the most overtaking opportunities around here, as we've seen plenty of times as well in the past. And let's see then, heavy braking zone, braking just before the 100-meter board, bringing it down the gears, hitting the apex is really nice and easy there, and getting on throttle immediately. Then it's very important to scrub off all the speed, because you go wide, you compromise your run all the way out through this part of the track as well, where the second DRS zone is activated. Then going into this I thought he took it turn number 10, I believe that is. I can't actually remember what the corner numbers are around here, but as we head into this right-hander then, down into third gear we go. Quite tricky this part of the track, because tyres are very hot as well. You're on the limit, and he makes it out there very nicely. It's so easy to lose the rear end as we head into the fast penultimate corner, as it was I think reprofile for 2021. So RCR King goes quickest with a 22.0 then, and let's see if anybody else behind can beat it or match it.
Yeah, the Williams is the one that is second on the track, and he's second with a lap time at the 22.4. Leroy for IRT goes into P2 with a 0.3. And as you said, indeed the braking boards are already gone. I still think that they are alive for the chicane. They indeed are, so that's going to be good for the drivers to just have as a reference, because sometimes people like to go over that curb, as Lifebout goes fastest with the first driver into the 21s as well. But sometimes drivers like to take that whole curb on the entry and kill the brake marker boards, as Julian goes into P3, I think. So both IRT drivers with a lap time. Dara just ahead of both Mercedes. In P3 he goes. Aston Martin, I think that is of Adrex, he is on the final corner but goes into the pit lane. as he has invalidated his lap time as well. Both Ferraris now but of CPI to the line. Kwiatkowski into P2, 1,000 ahead of ICR King, so it's very close, the times, as TJ Boss as well, only a 10th behind both drivers into P4 with a .1. Matsoso, one of the many, into the .2s, and Cobra into P4 with also a low .0.
Great lap times being set initially here in qualifying as a banker, and Lifeboat then the only man in the 21.9s or the 21s, so great lap time for him to stick it there in the 21s as Kart Racer go for a second attempt. I think I did see across the line, but let's see then how he does in this last part of the track then as we make our way into this double left hand. Do we go? And it used to be very difficult, it's still difficult, it's so easy to lose the rear end there, and into this penultimate corner we go. Final corner now for him into third gear, up to fourth medium, then a bit of oversteer on the way out. It's P5 for him, and that was so close because I thought he'd be in P2, but Kwiatkowski's time and King 22.0, so with Cobra P4, those three in the 22.0s, whereas the rest of them very close outside of it. We can't race there in 25.1, so despite the long distance here around this track, it's just incredible the amount of times being set around this track. So it's just the skill rate, the caliber of these drivers are incredibly high, and once again these drivers prove to be really strong around here. Really great lap times being set as well. Leighton 22.9, so he would dearly love in AlphaTauri to be up there with the rest of them, because he's well, it's not he's out of sync really as he makes his way down into the pit lane there. So two drivers yet to set a lap time, which is Brandox, who left the session earlier on, so hopefully he has no more internet connection issues as he's tried to burn off the fuel and also heat up the tyres, because that's the way to go at any track around here in this game.
Yeah, he's just taking the outlet very relaxed, not like getting anywhere on your tires, and indeed they're warming up. Only one not without an attempt to set a lap time, as the other one without a lap time also makes his way back onto the track in Edric. So it's going to be a waiting game for like 20 seconds, 30 seconds until anyone goes back onto a flyer. But as you said, the grid so far is really close. The top 10 covered in just over 3/10 it is. So that's very good to see, and already 4/10 it is actually, as of course a low .9 from Lifeboat. But it's a lot of promise for the race coming up, as Brandnox is now in the last sector and he is gonna prepare for that lap that is coming.
Yeah, so he makes his way now around the final corner as his teammate is on pole position then. So ETA continuing their great run in qualifying, so with CPI as well in P2 and TJ Boss in P6. Not far away from his teammate, only about just over a tenth, so small margins can gain you a big difference. But Brandox negotiates these corners really well, and let's see then how he does heading into turn number 5 once we go again as we head down into T5. Let's see how he takes it. Just missed the apex there slightly, but gets on the throttle then on the straight. DRS wide open then. This track is 5.2 kilometers long, 5.2 miles sorry long, so apologies about that one. As we head down, the 100 meter board and the 50 meter board has been taken out, so somebody out there has been taking out the meter boards, and you should not be out there for any reason, because I don't think you can brake on the curbs. Can you?
Yeah, I think some drivers have the setups to brake on the curbs, and of course they just open up the corner more if you brake on the curb, so it is faster, and it's just that people go there for the racing line, and it is a risk that I think is very commonly known in league racing, so it shouldn't come as a surprise, and I hope these drivers have practiced as well without the braking boards. But Brandnox, he is. It looked like a very solid lap. I think he's going to go up there together with his teammate, at least towards the top 5. What is it going to be? And it is going to be P2. Both ETA drivers now in the 21s, and they're also the only drivers into the 21s. So it's looking very good for the championship leaders.
ETA, the life bar, and Brandox doing a great job for ETA and the Calipi, and Matteo, who were racing last time out at the Hungarian Grand Prix. Now Brandox and Lifebar are taking over for this week or weekend I think Brandox, I've seen him racing IRT Esports, I think, a few races ago, so I think he's not no stranger for IRT Esports around here. I don't think it's his first appearance, I think it's his second or something, but let's see how the Williams does in this final corner we go. Bit deep, goes wide, doesn't invalidate, and it's a 22.3 for the Williams, just outside the top 10. I think somebody just catapulted up the order. I think, who was that? Leroy in P6 there, improving, almost in the 21. So is Cobra, also almost in the 21s as well. So these drivers are improving, but not there yet to join the ETA boys in the 21s who've got themselves a nice front row for P1 and P2 then. So let's see how the Ferraris are doing down there. TJ Boss is starting a flying lap. I think his teammate is right behind him. So Kakowski, TJ Boss there, out wide, invalidated. So that's his lap time done and dusted then for the time being, as we're on board with the other Ferrari of Kakowski in P3 there. So can he split the two ETA boys, or can he get ahead of them? We're about to find out then. As we make our way down into turn number 5 we go. He's 900 down to the nearest decimal point, or 10th down if we're going to put it like that, but obviously these small margins count. And as he makes his way on the straight, can he recover that lost time then? Might gain a distant tow from his teammate just being up ahead as we approach the heavy braking zone. But Tozo for RCR goes P2 with a 21.9, so he actually splits both McLarens then. So what a great lap time there from Matozo to split both McLarens in P2 and share the front row alongside Lifebout, as Lifebout I think is on a lap time, cross the line now. Kagowski is purple in the middle sector, but he's still a few hundreds down in that middle sector then. So can he make up the time in this last sector to try and stick it on pole, or try and overtake the McLarens then? We'll see through this third sector. You're going to have a lot of commitment through there and a lot of concentration too, because it's so easy to mess up through those slow speed corners. Into penultimate corner we go now, and let's see, can he hook up in his final corner? He can. A bit oversteer on the exit. It's a 21 or 22.0. He's down by 100 there, so he did claw back some time. Car Racer in P1 in the Aston Martin goes quickest then. So 21.8 is the new benchmark now for all these drivers. So let's see if anybody can beat that. Lifebout is 1.4 seconds down, so I think he's made a mistake somewhere on the lap. I'm not quite sure. But anyways, I don't think he can go for another lap time because he hasn't got the fuel to go with it either. So he'll be back in the pit lane very shortly.
Yeah, definitely. I think that's basically the second round of lap times done and dusted, as I was on board with Matsuzo, and after the second sector he wasn't even improving, he was slightly down on his time. So to find, I think he found over 2/10 in that last sector to go P3 for now. There's definitely more time in the first and second for that Alpine. So a lot of promise for him to maybe go for a sneaky pole position even, as I don't think anyone else is on a run. Dara now diving into the pit lane as well. Kutkowski and Car Racer will follow shortly, and once again it is Brandox on an outlap, and we'll be watching him as he goes for his run.
Yeah, Brandox then, I think he was the one that went out wide. No, it was TJ Boss who went out wide at turn number 1. He validated his lap time. I think he went back into pit lane immediately, so it looks like he was pushing still on that lap, because I thought having that invalidation, he might give his teammate a nice little stream down the straight to gain back some time, but actually he still continued. He pushed flat out to get back in the pit lane. 5 minutes left to go then on the clock. Brandox is the only one out there. Now Kart Racer is out there too. No, he's not anymore because he's headed back in the pit lane there. So Brandox there, nice lovely clear view ahead of him. Nobody around him. Doesn't have to worry about traffic. He could just pin it to the floor and try and beat that lap time and negotiate his way 5.2 miles around the circuit. So 3 thousandths down in that first sector, and later stages of qualifying puts you under immense pressure, because you know you haven't got much time left on the board then, so not many runs, and therefore it's quite easy to make mistakes. It brings the best starting drivers as well to see who can sustain that pressure as we head into the heavy braking zone. And looks like he was getting a lot of speed but slowed it all down very nicely there without going without going wide. coming out then of turn number 9, DRS enabled then on this straight, and we might see some side-by-side action then as we head into turn number 9. That was turn 8 which just exited, this is turn 9, sorry. As he's a few hundreds up, in that middle sector is Brandox then as he exits the corner, very easy to validate out there too. Heading down into turn 10 and turn 11 then, not my favourite particular part of the track. I don't think any part of the track is my favourite because I'm not a fan of Abu Dhabi, but it is nice to drive, but it's so hard to hook it up. I know it's not for these drivers because the calibre of these drivers are quite high. He's in the pit lane, so he's not satisfied with that lap time then. So, did he... Oh, I'm not quite sure. Did he think he's got enough time? It's 3 minutes and 20 seconds. But nip and tuck, I think.
Yeah, it will be close, but he'll have time to go out again. I think that was his whole plan. Because he, of course, got disconnected earlier on in the session. He just went out now. See, if it was a really good lap, then he would have finished it. But, of course, the track conditions will improve even more in this last couple of minutes of qualifying. So that was, I think, just the plan for him, flirting with track limits as well on the exit of turn 9, as King, LCR King, is the one on a lap now. Looked like a very decent first sector for the Alpine driver, and it indeed is. He's already up 700ths of a second, which would already put him into P3, just ahead of his teammate. And there's still 2 sectors to find time onto the main straight, where the top speed is probably going to be the highest throughout the lap. Also the speed trap here, braking just before the 100 meters. Well, the braking body is gone. It's still a slight reference in the change of curbs, and he does go on the outside curve there, which probably is ideal to carry as much speed as you can. Now he's going to enter the tricky stages of the lap, and he is improving a lot, almost, even over a tenth. That's definitely going to be good for the front row, a professional front row, maybe even professional pole position. It depends if he can hook this last sector up, and that is not what you want to do. As he validated as well, and it's very late on in the lap, so I don't think he can recover that ERS to go again. He just got on the curb way too much going into the hotel section, and he is indeed going into the pit lane. That was looking like a very promising lap. Matoso got a 5 place grid penalty, so that's going to be a little bit restart as he's just warming up the tires. That just happens sometimes with this game. Leroy is the only one on the lap, and he is improving ever so slightly going into the last sector. Slightly misses the apex though on that triple left-hander, so that's not ideal, and he is getting blocked by that Ferrari in the last corner, and he does get a lot of wheel spin on the exit. He still improves, and he goes up into P5. But there's definitely time to be found in that last sector if you just look at where the Ferrari was as well.
Wow, and TJ Boss then into turn number 2. The amount of curb he's taken is incredible as well. The balance of that car is really showing as he's 400 up in that middle sector. Unlucky for Leroy, there's like Sebastian Vettel when he got hold up by the Red Bull of Perez of Verstappen back in 2022, I believe it was. And RCR King then has retired in the pit lane. The man we were just watching as well, who unfortunately validated his lap time in the most common place. So yeah, it took turn 13, just took too much curb, pushed him out wide and exceeded track limits. So that was the end of that lap. It looking to be a really great lap time as well. They proved in a few hundreds in the first sector, improved by over a tenth in the middle, but what could it have been if it was the last sector? TJ Boss, he's 1/10 up in this middle sector, is the Ferrari man, and this 1/10 could make a huge difference as well. Can he find any more time in this last sector to try and boost him up the order along with his teammate Kagowski in P6 then? So the battle is on for these drivers. NLR as well doing a great job for Kart Racer in P1. He's a really quick driver, is Kart Racer, and making his way now into the final corner we go. Takes a wider angle, gets a decent exit there with no oversteer. It's P3 with a 21.9, and that's a 2/10 improvement as well. So we found a bit more time in that last sector. So what a great lap time. IRT Julian is coming towards the final stages of the track then. Into the penultimate corner we go, and OP Dareth up into P6 there with 21.9. Across comes Julian. It's pole from Julian. It's a 21.8 then. So let's see if anybody can beat that. Is it going to be Matozo? He's a few hundreds down in that middle sector. Kagowski is up into P3 there with a 21.8. We've got the McLarens yet to set a lap time. Brandox in P7 down. Idris goes P1 with a 21.8 that displaces IRT Julian by only 1,000. Unbelievable how close these fine margins are. Brandox He goes pole with a 21.7 there, so the McLaren finally hooked it up and he's on pole position then. So that last lap time really counted for him as he abandoned that lap time. I think it was his second lap time due to leaving the session, but he's stuck out on pole now and made up for it. Life bar unfortunately for him in P6 there, but what a great drive so far from the man from ETA.
Yeah, it was a great lap. Only one into the point sevens. Pole with over a tenth. Well, that quali session for us was so close. If you just look, of course, Edrix and Julian it looked like they were the ones starting on the front row with only 1,000 separating the two, and then behind that is Kart Racer with 11,000 and a bunch of drivers being in the point nines. It's a great qualifying session, and I just hope the race will be as good as well. But we will have a lobby restart as Matsuzo of course got an unfair 5 grid penalty, so I hope everyone can retire as soon as possible and then we can get on with it.
ETA, NLR and IRT in the top 3 then, so 3 different teams in the top 3. I remember IRT Julian being up there in Hungary, so was Sahilo, but I think Julian chose the wrong strategy and that led to his downfall and fell all the way to the back of the field then. So strategy is key around here too. Safety cars can be quite common, and hopefully he doesn't make that mistake the second time. Bearing in mind though, he didn't want to do the double stack, but I think doing the double stack was better being on much older tyres and lose a heck of a lot of time than he would have lost in the pit lane due to that double stack. So let's see if he's rectified that. But Brandok's incredible drive from the Italian driver in P1 representing ETA, and they're on good form so far with his teammate down in P6. There is a lobby restart due to the 5-place grid penalty that one of the drivers has, so we'll see you all very shortly for the race. And this, ladies and gentlemen, is what we'll see in 5 lappers. Incredible. Well, to take each other out like that. And yeah, we'll see you all in the race. I was just intrigued to see how they would take each other out, how quickly they all could do it. And Brandok is the only one left in there, now he's retired. So I should have left when I had the chance, but now I can't. So yeah, I messed myself up with that one, because I've got to stay on the loading screen. I think if I remember correctly, does second place have the inside line into turn number 1? I actually can't remember, so if that's the case, will second place overtake first into turn 1? Will it be a very close race between those guys as well? And Kart Racer then leads the, has won the race in the first sector as they all accomplished taking each other out, which was really good to see as well. It's very did it all very quickly. But are you set up, have you left the session now, or do I have to stay in?
No, we have to stay in the session. Everyone retired very quickly, which is great to see. And then we can just go on to the race itself, set up the grid. Hopefully, yeah, just go as soon as possible.
Matteo and McLaren, who won the Hungarian Grand Prix, went from mediums to softs, I think, and there was a great battle between TJ Boss and Matteo, but I think they were both on different strategies, so that's why those two didn't fight out. I think Mateo was hunting him down at that point, and also TJ Boss had a 5-second time penalty as well. Cobra was up there, but I think there was contact in that race, you know. It was only a week ago, but my memory isn't that great. I remember Sahilu getting a penalty for speeding in the pit lane or some sort. Yeah, there was definitely contact there with Cobra and Sahilu there. I think that's what gave Kakowski the podium, but the Williams spun as well coming out of turn number 4 out of Hungary, or turn 3, sorry. But Kakowski had great pace as well. He did a double overtake of the Williams and the Mercedes, and that led to his podium too, as Sahilu was left in the clutches of Cobra. So, yeah, the 29 lap race will be on very shortly. It was a great race in Hungary last time out, the Dutch GP, and hopefully we'll have a great one here too. And the first race of the season was at Belgium. How could I forget that? That was a great race for the McLaren 1-2. It was Mohammed who started at the front of the field, I think. Then it was Daniel who started at the back because his teammate lagged out, or he had a thunderstorm, I think, or bad weather, and his power went out. So Daniel had to take a late minute call. He started last, finished in P2, and ETA from the beginning of the season had a great start to the season as well, picking up wins and podiums along the way, and also NLR trying to catch you up as well. So let's see if that can happen. WR as well, representing for AlphaTauri. Leighton didn't have a great qualifying, maybe not his strongest track. His teammate, however, was up there, so hopefully for AlphaTauri they can gain some good points. And Leighton as well, hopefully for him and his team, he can score some decent points. Maybe he's got a better race pace. Maybe he's got a better race pace than quali pace. So let's see if that's the case. CPI Esports, they're further down than I thought they'd be in P4. So let's see if like Kakowski and TJ Boss there will be able to gain those positions, because I think they've been on the podium quite a few times as well. Rudy says easy win for NLR, but you've got the CPI boys and also the ETA boys coming at you as well, and IRT Julian too. So let's see if Leroy can be up there too. On his good days he can be up there, but it's just the consistency that he needs to work on, as we all do really. It's very hard to be consistent, but we'll see then what happens during this 29 lap race. Will there be any safety cars to change the race to and change people's strategies? Will it benefit them? Will it disadvantage them? But we'll see. As Bompia, you looking forward to this race?
Definitely. I think Abu Dhabi is always a great track for racing, and it proved itself multiple times, not only in league racing but of course real life racing as well. It's not always representative real life racing as opposed to league racing. For example, France, always great races on the game, but in real life it's a very stinky track, let's just put it that way. So yeah, it should be a very good track with, I hope, not a lot of incidents. So it's been very good in this event, like on average, but some races are just are more accident prone than others. Let's just put it that way.
Abu Dhabi is not one of my particular favourite tracks. I've never really, I don't know, to be honest with you, I've never really liked the track, but oh well, it's just there really. Abu Dhabi, I like Qatar, it's a great track, but Abu Dhabi, I think most people, I don't know if they agree with me or not, but I think majority don't really like this track. Maybe it's good for league racing. I think it is. Any track on this game is good for league racing. Maybe Qatar is a bit much of a DRS train, but I think, yeah, in terms of real life, we'll see a lot of boring races now and then due to the widths of these cars being so wide, and also the downforce too, so that makes it even harder to overtake, and especially at Monaco too. Like the reason why people say like it's a bit boring race is because it's just the cars, it's not the track. Like they moderate the track to make it more easier to follow, such as Spain, where they've taken out the chicane now and turn number 9, where it's no longer a heavy braking zone, it's a sweeping corner you go into. So, and also Abu Dhabi here at turn number 9 too, and also the final sector that's been reprofiled. So, and Australia too, like it's these cars that's changing all the layouts of the track. I did like the old layouts better. I thought it would be a bit better. Singapore too, like in that final sector, getting rid of those slow speed corners. And I know in league racing it helps us more because it's a technical part. The tyres are hot as well in that particular part of the track, so it's easier to slither and slide and hit the wall there too. But yeah, it's just a shame that all these tracks now are just, all the technical parts are just being removed. Who is NLR, says Patzer. I don't know, mate. You gotta go check them out yourself. They're quite quick, Jasper. So I'll be quiet if I were you, Jasper.
Always with the big talks, never with the big deeds.
Yeah, Jasper, you can't be talking, mate. You're always at the back. I knew you. Maybe it's the drunk talk coming too as well, Jasper. So stay quiet for the time being, mate. Hopefully there's no issues either, and we could get racing once again.
Yeah, I think drivers are just taking the time, of course, with selecting setups again, which they shouldn't be forgetting if it takes this long. So I hope that everyone is good to go. I think just the pressure that no one wants to be under is readying up first. Oh, and as I say that, we're gonna go.
Yes, we are there. So no formation lap. I think it is fixed, but we're not using it so far this season. And here we are then for the Abu Dhabi Grand Prix. Round number 4 is away. Looks like the McLaren Brandox has got a great start. I think Edrix is defended now from Julian, who's fighting for P2. As we head down into turn number 1, then you can see the Mercedes and Aston Martin going side by side. Kart Race is overtaking Julian then, so he's overtaking the Mercedes of IRT. And Kakowski are under pressure from Leipzig, who's under pressure as well from TJ Boss right behind. Any late moves here? Into turn number 5 we go. It's a Ferrari up the inside of IRT Julian. They're on the hard compound tyres except 2, which is the 2, one Williams and one AlphaTauri down there of Leighton, but now tucked in. Pulling to the left hand side there. Who's going to be daring into the brakes here into turn number 6 we go. Looks like, oh, it's so close between the two, but the Ferrari's deep on the brakes. So is his teammate of TJ, but Julian sticks around the outside, might get better traction. And further behind, we can see the McLaren, the Boss, and Lifeboat fighting for P6. Then let's see who gets ahead of each other into this turn 9 we go, and they're still side by side heading into turn 1. So let's see who might yield. The longer they fight, obviously, the more time, well, the more quicker they'll lose the DRS between these guys. The AlphaTauri has almost gone off the track, and they make it 3 wide in this contact, but no one's in the wall. Thankfully for that one as well. So that was intense there from all these drivers. But look like Davis is sliding around. Oh, the Williams almost lost it there. Could out turn 13 and 14. And the AlphaTauri is contact too. The AlphaTauri is in the wall there. Keeps losing traction. And the Williams was up the inside. And the AlphaTauri spun as well. So both Williams and AlphaTauri making contact early stage in this race. So a bit messy. But yeah, those two there fall to the back of the field as we head on to lap 2, Bompia.
Yeah, it's been a very messy start throughout basically the second and third sector, as you caught beautifully. Leroy in the first turn already, he spun, so he was demoted back to the end of the field. Luckily, it didn't get damage for him, so the Irishman is still going strong. Julian, I think, is under a lot of pressure as King and Cobra exchange positions. They are on the back of each other, and Cobra, with just a superior straight line speed, flies past the Alpine into the chicane. So he'll stick that out. I think it definitely does on the braking as well, keeping it all cool. Lifeboat making a move on TJ Boss on the exit of the chicane, and that's a move, pretty basic move, but he's ahead by a country margin as Leighton also goes for a move on the Alpine as well. Of course, Leighton on the medium, so he has to make ground up in these opening laps, but he's already dropped out of the leading pack as there was just too much battling going on between the Williamses and the Alpines and AlphaTauris. I think those 3 teams basically just battled within each other. And NLR with a good start as well. Julian dropping down 1 position, Car Racer getting that 1 position. So it's NLR 2 and 3 for the moment, and they will be looking to work together to get Brandox and to get the lead of the race.
Yeah, indeed, as lap 3 then, DRS is enabled for all these drivers. Like you said, Leighton has to make up the ground. He's gained a few positions so far, and the expense of his teammate and the Williams who dropped down the order too. So DRS enabled on this lap. Then let's see how they play out. Both Aston Martins at P2 and P3 then. So let's see then how it all unfolds towards the end with the teamwork they have to do there. Defending from IRT Julian there, who finds himself both Aston Martins on the straight we go. Edrix pulls to the left side, overtakes Brandox immediately. What about his teammate Car Racer? Will he go up the inside, making Aston Martin 1-2? If he does, Brandox will be in a world of pain there, but he defends beautifully on the exit, stays ahead of Kart Race for the time being. That was crucial to stay ahead, otherwise both Aston Martins could use each other for DRS and keep Brandox at bay. And let's see if it's round 2 for Kart Racer. Then he might go up the inside. No, he doesn't. And Brandox maintains P2. So a lot of pressure for Brandox there. Unfortunate for him, having to defend from both Aston Martins then. So if Kart Racer does get ahead, Brandox will have a chance. He goes deep into turn number 12 we go. Will Kart Racer go up the inside? Turn 13 and turn 14. They're going side by side out of this corner now. Brandox maintains position, but he's lost the DRS now. That mistake was costly for him. Outside the DRS range, will be vulnerable to these guys behind, who are all ready to take advantage on the straight if he does get past. But yellow flags in that last set. OP Dareth had a great qualifying, but hasn't transferred into a good race then. So he's fallen down into P14 and just slithering and sliding ever since lap 1. And not going his way at all. But you can see Brandox under huge pressure. It'll be very difficult to get back in the DRS range of Edrix then. So Edrix can breathe for the time being then, as he gets all wobbly coming out of turn number 5 there. But Brandox will be under huge pressure because all these guys want to get through and past the McLaren driver. Here comes Brandox, here comes Kart Racer. Look at Kikowski right behind Julian as well, so keep an eye on him in that Ferrari. Will he go to the inside? No, he won't. He stays behind for the time being. But I thought Brandox would have lost a lot more positions than that, but it was only 1 then. So that slipstream was quite powerful. The gap was 5 tenths, now it's 9 tenths as well. And look at this battle going in the midfield as well, with all these guys swapping positions there. It's getting so close. The Alpine of King overtakes 2 of them, and here comes the Williams, force his way through too. And I don't think he gets ahead, or now he does, because Leighty's dropping down. Leighty's actually lost about 3 positions as he gets forced off the track there. No room around the outside at all. That was always going to happen, unfortunately.
Yeah, it isn't looking like a clean race. That's towards the back. There are even more things going on, more chaos. As Leroy has spun with another driver, and the battle for lead is heating up even more now with both analog lads in 1 and 2 after Brandon's got overtaken, and Edrix dropping back to give Kart Racer that slipstream, and DRS of course to defend from everyone else. More positions going on towards the back. Leroy overtaking Oni as he goes into the pit lane to probably change his wing, I presume. Otherwise it's of course lap 4. He wouldn't really go for a pit stop otherwise. But he goes onto the hards actually, so he didn't change his wing at all. Goes into the hard tires to probably see out the race and just do a massive undercut on everyone else.
Also brave for a safety car as well, as the other Williams is in the pit lane. There's not been a great race so far, but they are in the top 10, one of them, of Cobra in P10, as he overtook both avatars later as well. Dareth, who fell down to P12. But this DRS train still continues then, with the leader of Idrix, who's been in the DRS train, lost a second on the last lap due to the DRS being so powerful. I don't know if he slowed down to allow his teammate DRS to protect himself against Brandox, because that is a wise strategy to do so, because Brandox will find it more harder to overtake Kart Racer because they're carrying the same speed down the straight. So that might be a tactic that both Aston Martins did, and keep them in P1 and P2. That's so. If that is the case, great tactics for both of them to keep Kart Racer protected from Brandox and the guys behind too, who'll be stuck in that DRS train. Damage is off. Restart lobby, says Jeffrey. Oh, I thought I saw some carbon fiber golf. Oh, so if the damage is off, we apologise about that one. So yeah, sorry about that. Restart lobby. We're on lap 6 out of 29, so I don't know, mate. Are you sure damage is off?
Apparently, and I'll check really quickly, but it's very weird.
Brandox in P3.
No, damage is on.
Jeffrey says damage is off, but I'm not quite sure who he's spectating. But here comes Kart Racer.
You got lucky then. Go on.
Here comes Kart Racer on his teammate. I don't think these two will fight. I think they'll trade DRS all day long in P1 and P2 there. So they don't fight each other. Just get ahead of each other for DRS and just pull away. That's the tactic to defend against Brandox. But Brandox has to find a way through, you know. He can't afford to get stuck behind both Aston Martins like this the whole time. So he has to force up the inside of second place to try and stay behind second, to try and fight first later on. Easier said than done. He's all over the back now. So that one mistake, hopefully it's a one-off for him, for Brandox, because that could have cost him hugely. Dareth has retired at the exit of turn number 9. A full-blown safety car has been deployed, and the top 7 do not go in the pit lane then. Neither does the guys behind, except Cobra and Leighton. Great time for Leighton, by the way. Off those medium tyres, could go to the hards.
Yeah, it's lucky for the top as they already passed the pit lane, of course, when the safety car went out, but I think that definitely settles the debate. The damage is on. Just good to be 100% sure. Cobra and Leighton, they pulled into the pit lane. Cobra onto fresh mediums, Leighton onto fresh hards. Leroy stayed out as well, which I think is quite surprising. He wouldn't have lost anything, and first tire is always a bonus. But a safety car, that will help the guys at the back. Guys at the front maybe as well, who didn't have as much ERS left over. I wasn't aware of like who had a lot of ERS and who didn't, but everyone's now back to a level playing field. So the racing should be very close once again.
Yeah, hopefully the safety car settles things down for the time being, but all these guys being stuck in this DRS train, it's just so hard to overtake. So feel for the guys behind, but they've still got the opportunity to do the undercut. So that's going to be very interesting once we get to that stage in this race, when the when the first pit window opens, if those guys will go for undercut. That's the only case, because if the safety car, when later on in the race, if they stay in the same positions they are during the safety car, and might as well do the undercut, because they're not going to gain anything whatsoever being stuck there throughout the whole race. So they're going to have to try and find a way through, but let's see then how it all unfolds. Let's see if the teammates might go for an undercut as well. Oh, we got some people in the pit lane. Kart race in the pits, Yulin and Gagalski, and Lifebound too. So also it's a double stack from both Ferraris. Majority of drivers are in the pit lane at this late call. I think when the safety car was deployed, 1 or 2 drivers went past the pit. I think it was the white lines, because are we strict about the white line rule?
Yeah, but I think when the safety car actually, like Dara, he retired, and I think a lot of drivers just pulled up to the last corner. And then when the safety car actually came out, they were already past the pit entry, so they couldn't go into the pit lane. And it's very interesting now that Edrix and Brandox and King, they all stayed out, so they'll get eaten up on the safety car restart with all those fresh mediums behind. Cobra, he pitted of course straight when the safety car came out, so he made up some positions. Only got a 3-second time penalty somehow under the safety car, so not ideal for the Williams driver, let's just put it that way. Might be removable, but we don't know. TJ Boss, interestingly, after the double stack, he's falling down to P11, but he is on fresh soft. Same for Oni. So maybe those drivers don't think they can stick it out to the end on the mediums. Of course, 21 laps will be a bit of an ask, but with this safety car, 20-19 laps on mediums. I've seen more spectacular things happen in league racing. I don't think it's impossible, but the tires will definitely be dead towards the end.
I think I know what you're talking about as well, if I mention the word Spain to you. But yeah, these mediums, they'll be the peak performance will be gone, but I think those tyres can go towards the end. I've seen some surprising things too around here, and we'll see then if it's cost. I think the teammates have stayed out, of course. Edrix, Brandox and King has stayed out there too to allow their teammates to go in the pit lane. So let's see then. But Kart Racer then in P4. Let's see then how he overtakes these guys. I think it'll be easy overtake on his Aston Martin teammate. There'd be no need for Edrix to just hold him up like that. So he'll let him go once he approaches on the scene. But Brandox has got to be disposed first, and it'll be easier said than done. As another driver, is that Leighton in the pit lane?
It's Leroy.
Oh, Leroy, sorry, in P12.
Yeah, he is going back to another set of hard tires. They are fresh, so he's not taking the risk that the mediums might or may not go to the end. And puts on the fresh hards. He didn't lose any positions, so he's just opting to go on different tires, which he thinks is the better way to go. Of course, hards definitely will make it to the end. Only 20 laps. That's very doable, and after around 7, 8, 9, 10 laps, he'll be faster than all the medium runners as well. So it might be a great strategy call from Leroy, but it also might be a very wrong one, as he will be very slow on the restart, of course.
we saw the McLaren. I think it wasn't McLaren. Sorry, it was a Ferrari who stayed out. It was a Mercedes actually of IRT Julian who stayed out there because he didn't want to pit to do the double stack where Sahilu was in the pits. Julian stayed out there and he lost a whole bunch of positions. And actually, that was in one lap as well. He dropped like a stone. But bearing in mind that we referred it to the race when the safety car came out, so the tyres were a bit older than this. And that was he paid the consequence for that. So I'm wondering if the likes of Edrix, Brandox, and King might just have they got the pace on the hard compound tyres? Can they finally warm up quickly and try and just stay ahead of these guys? Will they drop down like a stone? Because I know I've seen some guys on the older tyres before manage to hold on only for a few laps and try and not lose team positions at the start. But these guys are fresh and mediums and softs. It's gonna be very difficult to keep those guys behind as the safety car is in this lap then, so we can get racing once again. As Jeffrey's point has been proven, the damage is on, and I'm not quite sure what you were seeing, Jeffrey, but maybe you saw someone make contact and didn't lose the end plate. The structure of these front wings are quite strong as well, bearing in mind. But as we round the penultimate corner, then we can get racing as the safety car will come to the end at the pit lane on this lap, as Edrix will lead them away. Round the final corner he goes. This is the chance. This is when he decides to go. So he's got Brandox right behind him. He's going to defend from one Aston Martin and attack the other one. I dare say attacking will be easier than defending because those two on the same tyres, whereas Kart Race is not. Brandox there almost lost it, cut out of turn number 2. So will King will be all over the back of him with Kart Racer looking at interest as well. King, will he go down the inside? We've got Ferrari up the inside of Mercedes there. And we've got Kart Racer alongside, overtaking around the outside with better grip. What a great lunge. And now Brandox is next for the taking too. In the slipstream, here we go then. And you can see Brandox using the slipstream to stay ahead. I mean, ERS, sorry. Will Kart Racer go down the inside? Can we get... Oh, there's a Williams off in the background there. Kart Racer losing traction. The back end just stepped out on him. But will he get a decent exit now with those medium compound tyres with the help of the ERS then as they go side by side once again? You can see Brandox deploying the ERS to stay ahead. Look at the straight line speed he has in that McLaren. So he stays ahead, but Kart Racer up the inside. You can see Brandox locked up the rear, sliding off the track there. Kart Racer up into P2 now. IRT Yuli has to follow immediately to stick with Kart Racer as he was before in the DRS chain before the safety car came out then. So Brandox down into P3 as you would expect. What would happen to the two Aston Martins? Will they swap positions? It's going to be the most obvious question, yes, but in terms of where, because you can't afford to do it with slow speed corners, otherwise be overtaken. So I think he'll be on the straight there. What do you see?
Ooh, I was on board with TJ Boss as he was making some great moves up the field, but then he went for a move in the last corner. Car Race and Adrix as well. They swapped for the lead. He went for a move in the last corner, which he just judged completely wrong. Kagowski and Julian go side to side to attack the McLaren. Brandox is going to go 3 wide into turn 5. Yes, it is! Julian is on the outside. Brandox is squeezed in the middle. Now the Mercedes around the outside of the McLaren makes the move stick. So Brandox losing 2 positions in the space of that one corner. And now a third one to his teammate, which he of course is more than happy to let by. Kagowski though with a great move on to make up 2 positions in that corner as well. So a lot of things happening. TJ Boss almost hits the back of Brandox. RCR King giving up on those hard tires, going onto a fresh set of mediums. The Ferrari of TJ Boss though, he was making some great moves into the chicane as well, just braking very late, very optimistic. Here one as well, and Brandox has to almost avoid him, losing another position. Kagowski now getting past Adrix as well. Is Julian gonna follow? He indeed is getting past Aston Martin beautifully around the outside of that triple right under. Not really a place to overtake, but when you have those fresh tires, then it's definitely an opportunity, of course. Now Lifeboat and TJ Boss the next one to pounce on those old tires. The McLaren diving to the inside of the last corner, and he does make it stick a little bit squabbly on the exit though. TJ Boss following right after on the start finish straight, braking on time as well, and Edrix is just all letting it happen. 3 cars off turn 1, Brandox, Cobra at the background, and of course TJ Boss in the foreground. I'll just misjudging the speed that they carry into that corner. Kart Racer though, he is already out of the DRS range for Kagowski, and with a lot of ERS to play with as well.
I gotta say, in those last 2 laps, that commentating was absolutely brilliant. I enjoyed listening to you as well, with all the great moves that was happening on the track. So I would say a great commentating there for the past few laps. I was on my edge, on the edge as well of my seat because all these battles were happening. Still battling right now with IRT Leroy and the Williams. They're going side by side. Only they're getting squeezing Leroy out. Essentially, he's on the soft compound tyres. He wants to dispose that Mercedes very quickly. What about Julian? He's on the inside, outside of Kwiatkowski. He's up into P2. Then is Julian. So he makes the move back. He lost it in turn 1 due to making a mistake, lose the back end of the car. So did, I think, was I'm not quite sure who it was. Was it Brandox who also lost the back end contact? TJ Boss and Lifebout's in a spin. It's a shame there. I'm not quite sure what happened. I think I think TJ Boss was deep on the brakes. Contact was made, and in a spin he goes and down into P13 as well. So not great for both ETA drivers. They're on great form this season with wins and podiums to their names, but with one on old tyres and the other one at the back of the field in 12th, it's not looking good so far.
Just as sorry to interrupt you, but that was on board with TJ Boss at turn 1, and he just completely lost his car hitting the wall. Surprisingly, his wing seems to be intact as Brandox goes for a move now as well into turn 5. Leroy very close to both drivers, can't really make a move. Both Williams is very close as AlphaTauri in the background. Leighton, he loses traction. Leroy making now the move past Brandox for P6. Is he going to be able to make this happen both on similar level of ERS? The Ferrari going slow ahead as well. He can maybe prove for a little bit of an object in the way as Leroy goes to the inside, prevents Brandox from driving with him. Does Leroy make that double move stick? I don't think he has DRS here though, so that's going to be a problem. Both the Ferrari and the Mercedes don't have DRS. Brando's now going around the outside of both drivers and keeping his position. Actually, as Leroy though on those fresh tires gets a much better run. The Ferrari losing a little bit of momentum on the exit, and that's Brando's remaining in P5. Leroy though in P6 making good moves on those fresh hards, which you of course don't really expect. Now both the South runners going at it as DJ Boss loses yet another position. Maybe he does have some damage from that spin at someone. It doesn't get answered as he doesn't go into the pit lane, so we're not 100% sure on that question. Brandox is out of the DRS as well from Entrex, just about edges in, but 4.4 seconds already the gap to P3. Kart Racer, he is looking very comfortable on the lead.
Yeah, Kart Racer pulled that gap when he had to, when he overtook his teammate. Here comes IRT Leroy on the outside of Brandox, sorry, yeah. Switch back there from IRT Leroy on the fresher hard compound tyres. TJ Boss has spun again. I think those soft compound tyres are not working for him. Kwiatkowski re-overtakes IRT Julian, and now Leroy might fancy a move side by side with Brendog as he makes it Brendog, sorry, as he goes up the inside. Sorry, one of my friends is called Brendog, that's his nickname. And IRT Julian then might come back on Kwiatkowski as they continue to fight. My TV's about to turn off, so I need to find the remote very quickly. And now they go side by side coming out of turn 10, and Kwiatkowski stays ahead for the time being. So I'm trying to keep an eye on the battles whilst finding the remote because I can't find it. It's disappeared somewhere, buried under all this shit, but I've actually found it now. So look at the Mercedes, IRT Leroy up the inside, then on the Aston Martin. Bearing in mind they make contact again and finally turn the TV on. Oh, make contact on the Aston Martin. The spin, he's lost his wheel. He's out of the race. Will this cause another safety car? Yes, it does then. Ah, it's a shame there. The people that stayed out there on older tyres, it's cost them. But Brandox is able to get in the pit lane and take those hard compound tyres off to put on a set of mediums then. So the Aston Martin there, they were running great until that first safety car came out. Majority of drivers in the pit lane, as you expect, to put on a brand new set of mediums or whatever. But TJ Boss then, for him to get off those soft compound tyres, he was struggling on them. Looks like he was just standing around overheating, and he's able to put on a set of mediums that can definitely go towards the end now, and hopefully for him no longer struggle. But what a contrasting race between the teammates there, because Kwiatkowski's in P2, his teammate's in P11, and Kart Race is in P1, and his teammate is out of the race then. So those people that stayed out there definitely cost him. Kwiatkowski in P2 then after having a fight with Julian. IRTD was up there with P4 on the hard compound tyres. Now he might be vulnerable because the guy behind is on the mediums, Lifebout and his teammate Brandox. Brandox might be actually in a great position, you know, in P6 on the fresh set of mediums in comparison to others. So watch out for him in the second phase. He could be the one that could be attacking this time rather than being overtaken.
Yeah, it very might be, but I think drivers in front of him are going to pit this lap, and they won't lose too much time because everyone is going at the same speed as they were when the others made the pit stop. So I think Kart Racer, Kwiatkowski, Julian, Leroy, and Lifeboat are all diving into the pit lane this lap. Maybe the only one that's going to disadvantage from that is Leroy, as he might have to double stack with his teammate in front, even though the gap is 7 seconds. So it should be a-okay for him, and indeed the drivers all pulling it into the pit lane, and Leroy as well following. So I think everyone should be going onto medium tires, which would put the whole grid on the same tire, same ERS. So a good fight for position. It's going to be Leroy with a, got helped very slightly. And he dropped behind Lifeboat already, and then Brandox is probably going to be ahead of them as well. Maybe Cobra and Matsozo as well. It's going to be very tough, very close on the exit. Brandox already going past Cobra now as well. And Matsozo, he is side to side with both drivers. Is he in front? He is, I think, in front of Leroy, but not in front of Lifeboat, and indeed that is what it's come back to. So Leroy dropping back to P8 after having that small hold up in the pit lane, and Brandox back up into P4 with Cobra now in P5. Have not really too much notable things happening to him this race that we really saw, but P5 for the Williams, and of course all about raw pace from now onwards.
I feel sorry for the Aston Martin boys, because every time they pull out a gap, it just seems to disappear with the amount of safety cars that appears on the track. But it's still the Aston Martin leading then, but it's the other one, a Kart Racer. He's having to do all the hard work. But bearing in mind, the Kart Racer's got great pace. He's shown it at the Hungarian Grand Prix. He finished in P2. He was fighting Kwiatkowski for the podium too, who also finished in P3. So there they are, the two podium sitters last time out at the Hungarian Grand Prix are currently 1-2. And this could be a spicy battle towards the end. I cannot wait. Everybody's on a level playing field now, essentially, with the medium compound tyres there. So there should be no disadvantage. Maybe the tyres on one lap order shouldn't be too much of a big difference. But here we are, same set of tyres on the cars. This is going to be a great race towards the end, hopefully. Safety cars in this lap as well, so hopefully this race is going to spice up towards the last few second part of the race. 13 laps to go. Kart Racer leads ahead of Kwiatkowski. Those two are fighting, Kwiatkowski and Julian, but is there a chance of winning this race now for both of them? Or, well, because they caught up to Kart Racer now, whose gap was like 2 seconds, but what attack due to that safety car. So here we are, right in the final corner for Kart Racer. He's about to pull the trigger once again. Safety car's in, and lap 17 then, no DRS enabled. Looks like Leroy's got a decent restart. Might fancy a run up the inside of Matsozo, but no, he doesn't go for it. He's too far back on that occasion, so stays in P8 for the time being. Leroy has made P3, has made 3 stops by the way in this race, so been in the pit lane quite a lot this time. Cobra side by side with Brandox. Up the inside goes Cobra. And let's see if he's able to make this stick. A bit of wheels for the exit. Brandox got a decent exit on the outside. Maintains P4, but Cobra will slip back in the slipstream. And now Brandox defends the inside. Cobra's in the slipstream with IRT Julian as we head down into turn number 6. You can see Brandox lays the brakes and he cuts the curb. He makes contact with Julian there, and you can see there IRT Leroy fights with Lightbow, who's off the track then, and he falls down into P7. So IRT Leroy is ahead of Lifeboat. Brandox rises the back at IRT Julian then. So he's defending a few members ago. Now he's attacking, trying to go around the outside. Can he do it? Can he carry the speed around the outside? Would he get pushed off the track? No, IRT Julian leaves him enough space and respect and moves up into P3 then. So Brandox there, great recovery after being attacked at the restart to gain in the place up into P3. Back where he was initially as well was Brandox, because he had a huge disadvantage during the first safety car by staying out there. But thanks to the second safety car, he's back in play now, and he's up into P3, ready to take on. This is going to be an incredible race towards the end. Kwiatkowski, Kart Racer, Brandox, Julian, and all of them behind. And let's see how it all unfolds towards the last parts of this race. It's intensifying, and I can't wait to see what happens between all these drivers.
Yeah, there's already been a lot of action, and it definitely won't stop here. Leroy making 2 moves after that last safety car, so 2 positions gained for the Mercedes, but with the disadvantages now, his battery is quite low, only 25%. Cobra is looking towards the back of that other Mercedes. Julian is looking correct from the wall as well, very close to the back of Brandox as he now gets boxed in a little bit. Cobra and Julian's wheel banging, nothing too major. Slightly going off the track is the Williams, but still side to side in the run up to turn 9, where Cobra using that battery of his to his advantage, and he moves up another place into P4. Julian having not that great of momentum after the safety car, going from P3 to P5 with both IRT drivers now next to each other in P5 and P6.
Yeah, unexpected as well, because Leroy's been down there quite a few times, especially at the beginning of the race where he spun, coming out of turn number 1 along with a few others, and he's up there with P6 pressurising Julian. So I'm not quite sure if Julian, well, I'm not quite sure if Lifebout's got damaged, but Oni there in P9 has picked up 83 seconds absences. Leighton is in the pit lane then, so unfortunately for him, whatever's happened to him, he's in the pit lane once again to probably change his wings. So he's been AlphaTauri is not having a great race at all for both of them, as lap 19 I think DRS is enabled next lap, and we'll see the overtake start happening. Kart Racer has got a substantial amount of ERS to try and stay ahead in defense mode ahead of Kagowski. DRS actually enabled this lap, so I wasn't paying attention after the safety car, but here we go. We can see IRT Julian side by side with LDO Cobra, as they go side by side into turn number 6 we go. It's going to be very close. Cobra outbrakes himself, he gets put into a cute angle, he slides, here comes Leroy, he might take advantage of that, but he had to scrub off some speed there because he might have made contact with Cobra. Now here comes the McLaren off Lifebout. Are they going to make it 3 abreast? You can see Cobra derating on the straight there. Leroy backs out, Lifebout around the outside. Can he make it stick? Has he got the momentum to go around the outside? It's a bit of contact there, and he does have the momentum then, so Leroy's actually lost 2 places I think now, and Lifebout is up into P6 then, taking advantage of Leroy, who lost the position towards him earlier on in this race as well with that second safety car. So Lifebout up to P5, they're pressurising Julian, who's currently 1 second outside of DRS. So crucially for him, he needs to get himself in that DRS to stay in this fight, otherwise it'll be a sitting duck down the straight with these guys having DRS on him. He's used a lot of ERS as well, so I don't know what happened to Julian's pace. It looks like he dissipated. It's not too much though, he's still there in the DRS, but he was so close to the DRS train at the beginning of the race. I'm not quite sure if he's been involved in any contact or whatever and he's lost a bit of his wing or not, but hopefully for him and for IRT's sake, he's outside of 1 second range of DRS, so Lifebout might fancy a chance now, make up some lost ground after that safety car as Lifebout, and DRS will be enabled for the McLaren driver. He's spun by the way, making contact with TJ Boss, and here comes Kagowski on the Aston Martin down the inside into turn number 6 we go. Makes the move stick, and he's up into P1 then, so this will continue all the way to the finish line between these drivers. Mercedes versus Williams, of Oni trying to overtake Leroy. Leroy just holding on there with the Alpine of Matozo trying to claw his way in. Car Racer backs out of this one. Brandox in P3 and Oh, what about Brandox? Is he going to go up the inside of turn 9? Yes, he is then. They go side by side. Lifebout has overtaken Julian, and here we are. Car Racer has the inside line, has the racing line and stays in P2 then. So I thought Brandox had it done, but Car Racer was able to carry the speed around the outside to convert it to the inside line into turn number 12 they went. And so far looking good for ETA now, P3 and P4 can start to put the pressure on.
Yeah, definitely. It was looking very grim for them at some point during this race, but making a good recovery. Lifebout now as well back in the DRS of his teammate, and that's one of the main things that you of course want, as the whole grid is inside of 1 second of each other, with the exception of Leighton, who was made an extra pit stop after that safety car, and it's probably going to just be jostling for position at the top, just swapping P1 and P2 around, and then whoever's in P3 basically just needs to be very close, either after turn 5 or after that chicane that we're coming up to now, as Car Racer overtakes Kagowski for the lead, and now it's just a task for Brandox to make a move on Kart Racer, same that he tried last lap, but now make it stick as Julian is round. I don't know if there was contact or not, but he is round up down to P11, so great race for him so far, but now it's looking all very doom and gloom as Cobra is around the outside of Lifebout, doesn't quite make that stick. Leroy is a little look on the Williams as well, but it's too far and too little for Leroy, so he is staying put in P6 with Oni behind now dropped back a little bit because Julian, of course, was in between, and the Williams have to make up that ground. And that Julian already had TJ Boss and Matsozo came very close throughout the hotel section, but they just lost some time and didn't lose any part of their wing. Luckily, I don't think. Julian back into the DRS though.
Kikowski made a slight mistake out of turn number 1. Brandox is all over the back of him. Brandox was in the same position he was during the first stint when he was pressurising both Aston Martins then. So he's been in this position before, has Brandox. You can see him sliding, locking up the rears there into turn number 5 to get out of the corner. So with this DRS will help Kikowski be brought back into play. Kart racer, by the way, have to mention him, he's had great pace on the whole entire race, but he's under huge pressure as King has overtaken Oni for P7. They go, and further up the field we can see Cobra up the inside of Lifebound. So these two have not finished yet with Leroy, so this trio is still continuing with another trio right behind too, with separate battles going on throughout the whole field there, as IRT, Leroy and Lifebound have DRS on the Williams of Cobra. Cobra, by the way, running a great race. He's been in a bit of contact with his teammate as well, who's also been down there. Now Lifebound going side by side then into turn number 9 we go. Let's see if they make it out very clearly. Bit of contact there, and that's the same scenario that TJ Boss, I think, or Kikowski was in the same place there, where he made contact, I think, during before the second safety car. I definitely remember that when you were commentating that as well. That great lap where we saw plenty of action between those guys. It was definitely a Ferrari that got involved in contact there, but I can't remember what it was. It was against an Aston Martin. So yeah, but that was a fantastic lap to commentate on. You really did well there, mate. That was beautiful commentating.
Thank you very much, Jamie. Of course, same back to you on basically whatever you do. But back to the race, as we are on lap 23, and the battle for the top 3 is heating up, as well as the top 2. They have a lot of ERS still, and that battery, the McLaren behind though, he is not in such a good position as he used to be, with only 30% of ERS in his locker. Cobra just about managing to get that DRS from Lifebound, and he is using that to stay close to him while derating. Same goes for Leroy behind, so those two cars with that red light flashing on their rear. Okay, Kikowski just choosing not to use any ERS whatsoever. Same for Kart Racer. They just want to have as much as they can in their locker. No moves going on throughout the whole field. Maybe TJ Boss, as he's close to Matsozo during turn 9. He is basically tapping the rear of that Alpine, but he's not close enough to make a move. Maybe goes for a dacious head here, and he is, but it is too late and too little. He wasn't really alongside at any point, and he goes for a spin back down to P11. And Julian just on board with him as well. He lost the car the same place that Latifi did, coming out of that tight section, but he didn't hit the wall or anything. Just lost lots of time, basically 4 seconds now behind the next car. Leroy overshooting the corner by a country mile, the biggest we've ever seen any driver do it this race. TJ Boss going into the pit. I thought he was going for maybe a fastest lap attempt, but he instead chooses to retire the car. So that's no points for that Ferrari car. But the other one, his teammate, is in P2 and looking to score some very good points.
Left his teammate out there to dry because there's only one Aston Martin who's out there. There was 2 Ferraris. They're equal on points, NLR and CPI, so 1 point does matter with Kikowski in P2 and TJ Boss, who might not score many points, but still for the constructors and team's point of view. Kikowski's closing, he backs off, he knows he doesn't want to go for it just yet. He's waiting for the later stages of this race, but TJ Boss, if he was thinking about himself or the team, he should be thinking about the team, because at the end of the day this is a team event. He should have stayed in and tried to get the fastest lap or try to get inside the top 10 or whatever, but he knows that there was one Aston Martin out of the race. The equal on points, the battle for third in the constructors is between NLR and CPI, or WOR is there too, but I dare say WOR will lose a hell of a lot of points due to later than P11. By the way, still going after all his spins, I dare say, and Dareth, who's out of the race, who calls the first safety car, but Later's still going to P11, just trying to see what's up for offer and what else could happen during this race. So if NLR and CPI keep this up, they'll overtake WR in the championship, and Kikowski, who's done a great job so far for Ferrari, and also Lifebound and Brandox, Mohammed and Daniel. Don't forget, other drivers who've been involved in this event as well, not these drivers, other drivers who have also taken part in the first round, Belgium, Hungary and the Dutch GP Zandvoort, and here now in Abu Dhabi, all those drivers are taking part. Very important to pick up those points, no matter where you are as well, because it's a team event, not a drivers' championship. So you've got to have that mentality. I know it's so easy to retire in the pit lane because you had a difficult race and you just want to call it quits, but at the end of the day, you just got to stay out there, see what happens really, and see what you can gain from it. Even if it's 1 or 2 points, it's just very important for your team to just try and fight for the championship, because ETA is currently leading. They both have their drivers in the race in P3 and P4. Lifebar is in P4. He's under pressure from Cobra and Leroy once again, so that trio continues. Now bringing along King and Onim and Matozo, who's further down the order in P9 with 2.7 seconds to the nearest rival ahead of him, which is Oni in P8 there. So that battle, the 4-5 car way battle, continues between these. But the top 3, this could be very interesting now between Kikowski and Brandox. Brandox has been in that position ever since the start of the race really. He's been in P3, excluding the safety car period, well, excluding before the second safety car. That first safety car, before that, he was stuck in P3 behind both Aston Martins. Here we are, finds himself in the same scenario once again then. So he's running out of laps. He can't leave it too late because you won't have enough chances. But when will he decide to go? Will he decide to go lap 27, 28? Let's say 27, yeah, overtakes Kikowski if he can, and try and put pressure on Kart Racer later on as well. But Kart Racer's got to make sure he doesn't spend too much time behind Kart Racer, because he knows Brandox will be pressurising him too. So Kikowski's got to watch out for Brandox there if he wants to win this race. But Kart Racer can't do anything about it, of course. Might see a battle unfold between oh yes we are, Leroy up the inside of Cobra, then into turn number 9 we go. Let's see who gets a better traction out of there. Leroy does, but you can see Cobra using the ERS. Leroy barely has it. As you can see, the Alpine too is also wants to get involved. Leroy has no ERS in his disposal. He goes up the inside. The Williams closes the door very firmly, and you can see Leroy assisted him to just stay on the track, and he does so. So that was nice support there for Leroy to get Cobra on the track without spinning. But yeah, that's a shame, those two there, and it allowed the other Williams of Oni to come through too.
Oh, even more contact being made between Leroy and Cobra, so there's no real love there between both drivers as Cobra hits the wall. Even Matozo looking for a move but can't quite make it. I dare say that launch from Leroy was a bit too late and not quite convincing enough, and he only had himself to blame for those position and time lost. Still in the 3 seconds of Oni, so he could get that P6 still on those penalties after the race. But the battle now for P4 is basically over, as Lifeguard King, Oni and Leroy all are not in the DRS of the car ahead, but Cobra and Matsuzo now, they're the ones hunting that Mercedes car down. Looking at the front, it's still Kwiatkowski and Car Racer just staying put as they are, not using any ERS whatsoever, and just having a nice Sunday drive there with each other, basically just all staying on the same pace. Leroy gets overtaken by Cobra, and I think Matsuzo is the next one to pounce on that Mercedes. If Leroy doesn't manage to get past Cobra on this straight, which he might do, he doesn't use any ERS, goes around the outside this time, maybe having a little bit of flashbacks from the left before, but he overshoots the corner by quite a mile, but then he gets a good exit. Not enough though to attack Cobra into the last sector, so he stays in P8 for the time being. And I think Matsuzo, with 3 second time penalty, yeah, he is only on one penalty, so it might be removed, but it's not really any use for him to overtake these guys, as he'll lose positions anyway on that 3 seconds, as Cobra, with maybe a little bit of a mistake in that last corner, allows Leroy to get very, very close to the back of that Williams, and that is too close to the cars. They make contact. Leroy just braking too late, hitting the back of Cobra, who loses out to Matsuzo as well, and the Alpine is now looking very feisty for another overtake.
Penultimate lap, I dare say Brandox might have left this a bit too late, stuck behind Kwiatkowski, but if Brandox, if he did attack Kwiatkowski was always going to pull away with the ERS anyway. He has a sufficient amount in that battery there, and also Car Racer too, whereas Brandox there 55%, which is still good. This still bastard, by the way, look at that, he's up the inside again. So these two not giving up at all, but this is going to be on the final lap of the race then. So let's see then, if Kart Racer, he does have enough battery left, it's all about turn number 5. Can he get a decent exit there? If he does, he just needs to use all the ERS down the straight. This is going to be incredible close there between the top two. If these two battle so hard, Brandox might find himself way through too. So no mistakes can be afforded on these people, on these drivers here. Kikowski, it's his time to move now. As he head round the final corner, this is going to be a mighty final lap for Kart Racer. He needs decent exits out of turn 5 and down at turn number 8 as well to maintain first place. It's easier said than done, but let's see then where they decide to use the ERS then. This is going to be an intense last lap between the two, but Kart Racer pulling away. 7/10 is the gap now. Kikowski needs to respond immediately. Where will he go for it? If he's close enough into turn number 7, will he do it? Or will he wait at turn number 9? We'll see then. As we make our way into turn 5 we go. As DRS enabled for Kikowski, has to blast it out on the straight. He's gaining, and the gap is 6/10 there, but will it be enough to try and overtake him down into turn number 6 we go? I don't think so, so it's going to be all about the exit of these slow speed corners. Kikowski needs a good exit, so does Kart Racer, and let's see who has it there. Looks like Kikowski's much more closer than he was at turn 5 there. So it's all down at turn number 10 to see if Kikowski can take the lead of this race. He has to go around the outside now. Into turn 10 we go. And Kart Racer there, deep on the brakes. Will Kikowski do a switch back? But he almost spins. He saves the car. But Kikowski there had to let go of the throttle, otherwise he made contact there. So I bet Kikowski wished he went a bit more left and tried to pin the throttle, but he couldn't do it as Leroy and Cobra are still fighting, by the way. So these two are not giving it up whatsoever. But Kart Racer there, heart in mouth moment there. His jaw would have dropped going to turn number 10, lose the car. And Kart Racer roused the final corner to go one better than he did in Hungary to win the Abu Dhabi Grand Prix. Kikowski in P2 ahead of Brandox there. ETA Lifebar in P4 with King up his rear in P5 there. Oni will maintain P6. No, he doesn't, because Matozo's there in P7, so he might drop down. No, he doesn't actually. Leroy goes up into P6 there ahead of Oni, and Cobra retires on the line, so he is not classified. He will fall down into P11 now because Leighton's coming up the scene, so a bit early there to retire for Cobra. So here comes Leighton then. Is this a fastest lap attempt? He's using the ERS, so let's see if he can nick the fastest lap away from... I actually don't know who's got it, to be honest, because a lot of things have changed here. If I can find it, there we go. Fastest lap belongs to IRT Leroy then. So let's see if Leighton can beat a 124.2 and steal a point away from IRT, who desperately need it, by the way. IRT Julius was in P9. Here comes Leighton across the line. He does it with a 23.6, I think. So he takes the fastest lap away from Leroy.
Yeah, it was a very eventful race with some highlights and some lowlights, unfortunately, but we have this every race basically. Good race for NLR, who even though they only had one driver finish, took to win maximum points, but I think it's going to be ET8 with another race where they score the most points. Brandox with that last podium spot, and Lifeboat right behind them in P4. They're going to be scoring very good points to solidify their spot at the top.
Yeah, and CPI and NLR will overtake WR, like you said, so, and close their way in ETA if they can, but it's a double points finish for ETA, so it's going to be a bit difficult for Ferrari and Aston Martin, or I say Ferrari and Aston Martin, NLR and CPI to close in on that one. But what a great drive from Kart Racer, who started in P5 and went to win the race. Misfortunes to his teammate, and that contact there down at turn number 14 ended his race and in tears as well. TJ Boss, he had to stay in the race to score points to try and gain some more points away from ETA or WR, and LLR too, because they're matched on points. But NLR will they will stay ahead of CPI. So NLR then will no longer be tied with points with CPI and have a bit of a margin over. Not much though, by the way, but still something to try and take away and have the advantage towards the next race. Kikowski's racing, by the way, is amazing. He was under so much pressure during that safety car period, but his racing, his comebacks, his overtakes were amazing as well. The pressure he sustained, I've got to give massive respect for Kikowski because he's a really calm, calculated driver. It's nice to see that as well, and that's why he's scoring a lot of podiums recently here too. So massive respect there for Kikowski, and also Kart Racer, who's also showing blistering pace, it must be said. So big respect to those guys up there, and congratulations on the win and podium today for Kart Racer, Kikowski and Brandox. Brandox couldn't really do much. He was third in a DRS train, but at the end he finished in P3, which mattered anyway which mattered a lot because considering where he was after the first safety car, who dropped like a stone on those hard compound tyres, the old hards. But bear in mind though, despite being on those hard compound tyres, he did make his way back through when other guys were squabbling on the same set of tyres, and he made 2 moves in one as well, did Brandog. So, and the second safety car definitely put him on the right tyre strategy to be back on the mediums and be on the same strategy as everybody else. So it definitely helped his race. Lifeboat, good recovery drive after being taken out by TJ Boss. By the way, TJ Boss made the same move twice and it didn't go well, so maybe he needs to start considering about changing his ways of overtaking that corner, because he tried it on a Lifeboat, didn't work, tried it on a Williams, didn't work. So but this time he spun himself and not the other driver, as Lifeboat was the victim in that incident. But it was a great drive from Lifeboat anyway to be back up there. And yeah, overall I enjoyed the race, and hopefully you all did too. I know some of these guys in the comments are not really happy about what's gone off in this race. I thought it was a good race at the top end of the field, but in the midfield it definitely needs to be worked on and improved, because that was a bit messy and a bit sketchy there. So I agree with you, well, not fully agree, but I understand with the comments section that some of you are pissed off, but yeah, it's racing at the end of the day. You're going to get that anyway, anywhere, probably except like PSGL or whatever, but they're the highest standard tiers. So Bompy, you got anything to say?
No, not really. I think you've recapped that beautifully.
Thank you, mate, and we'll see you all next time for round 5. Join me back and Bompy or whoever who wants to do it next weekend at 4:30 for round number 5. Hopefully be like a thriller like this one, and more drivers and teams joining as well, because we only had 4 teams as a few teams have dropped out. But massive respect for all the drivers who raced here tonight, and congratulations to Kart Race, the one better than he did in Hungary, to be in P1, and also the Singapore Grand Prix next weekend too, so can't wait for that. And what about the times between Singapore and IRT Esports? Is it going to clash?
We should be finished ahead of the race.
Singapore's later though, isn't it? No, earlier?
Yeah, it's later. So around the time we finish, that's you can basically watch this and then immediately go over to watch Singapore. It's going to be a great Sunday.
Indeed, as long as there's no delays and people getting 5 place grip penalty, because I can't remember who got a 5 place grip penalty, but the Aston Martin was all over the back of it. So that does need to be worked on, by the way, the 5 place grip penalties, because I know no one's doing it on purpose, but you just to be aware not to get too close behind a car, because that will give the driver in front a grip penalty, thinking it's going to slow people down. So you got to be very careful about that too. I saw it in Belgian Grand Prix as well. We had to restart the lobby, and Nicolapi, I think. No, it wasn't Nicolapi. It was somebody else who joined in Belgium. Had a internet connection issue anyway, so we had to restart that. But anyways, we'll see you all next time round. Enjoy the rest of your weekend. Well, there's only a few hours left of it anyways, but hopefully you all have a good week.